Coming to you from the Malace TV studios in Troy, Michigan, this is the Malace Cast.
Welcome back to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of MalaceHR. I'm LJ.
I'm Sarah.
And today we've got a ton to talk to you about, but before we do, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, as well as our pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Every time you like and subscribe, we're going to keep giving Donnie some treats.
How's he doing? Is he?
He's getting pretty big. Yeah, he's starting. We got to get him on a diet or something soon.
Get a new workout plan for that poor guy.
Right. So Sarah, how are you doing today? What do we got going on? What are we talking about?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I am doing amazing, actually. Another Malace Cast.
Yeah, so happy to be here. So we're going to talk a little bit about social media, the state of social media before and, how it is now. We brought some friends with us. Caitlin's here again, and our friend Desi.
Hey, guys.
To help us talk about it from, kind of what they've experienced and what we've experienced, and especially me as an elder millennial or whatever.
You're right.
So we've got social media. We use it in the workplace in a lot of different ways. It's something that we use to help find candidates. And when I say social media, I don't just mean Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth. We're talking about any kind of social platform in which we can engage. LinkedIn being a big one in the business world. What do you guys see? Like, are you active on your LinkedIn pages? Because I've had one forever, but you guys are a little bit younger. Do you use it at all?
Well, I just started here. This is my first big girl job, as we already established, right? We established that?
I think we did, yeah.
If you didn't know, this is my first big girl job. But I'm new to the LinkedIn world as of like 5 months ago. So it's still fairly new to me. I'm still learning how to navigate it. But I use it a little bit each day. I think it does a really good job at spreading the word about certain businesses and positions that we have open. Mm-hmm. I know that as soon as you share something, it instantly shares to everyone else. Even if you just like it, it pops up on their feed. Yeah. So I think it's a great way to spread the word.
Right. Desi, how about you, big guy?
Yeah, for sure. I know. Same big boy, first big boy job. Very exciting.
Wow, we got a couple big boy and big girl here.
We're doing great.
Right. So I just joined LinkedIn maybe like 5 months ago as well. So I'm very new to it. I wish I could say that I was on it more often than I am. I only check it maybe like once every week. I'm terrible. I check it like once every week. But yeah, it's fun though. It's very business oriented, so it's very different for me to kind of get into how it works and how to operate on it and how to speak. So
well, and I think it's kind of funny with your guys' first big boy, big girl jobs here. I think it kind of brings into a little bit of a question here. What was the world like before and now after? After social media, and they may not be able to talk about the before as much as we can, but I remember back in the day, there was no LinkedIn, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was nothing, and people were calling each other, and
that's weird,
which is such a weird thing,
voices,
right? And businesses were really reliant on ad campaigns on TV or on the radio or in the newspaper, but posting something online, there was really no online, what are your thoughts about the before and after, the world before and after with social media in it now?
Well, recruiting once upon a time, even before my time, thank you very much. A company would get a hold of you and, hey, I need an HR manager. This is the industry that I'm in. And then you would go and figure out by calling the actual company. And it was very invasive. Right. Who's your HR manager? Can I speak with them? And hey, I have a job. Do you want to get out of there? And, people didn't move around as much before. It's so much more accessible now, which kind of bleeds into, I think it's funny that now, even me, I used to have to go turn in a paper application when I was applying for a job, and now it's click, 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 click.
Right.
Yeah. So gone are the days of I have one opening a year, and now it's a ton of openings, but a ton of opportunity to just apply to them as you want to.
Totally. And I actually think that the social media may play a part in turnover, because I think that we're now able to find job positions and job openings way easier and quicker, and there's so many out there, and they're so easy to just apply online.
Right.
That people are more likely to be like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Let me do that instead."
No, because I've had friends too who'll apply to like 10 different jobs at one time, and so just one click.
It's so easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I agree. The turnover is very high for that.
Yeah, and it also kind of keeps us in business because so many people apply for jobs that are way out of their wheelhouse. Like they're not qualified for it at all, but they'll click and apply to it. And so, then hiring managers don't want to go through all that. So it's easier for them to, we have systems in place that'll get that stuff out of the way. So we know exactly how much experience the person has and do they have the certifications that we're looking for and things like that. So it does help us in that way.
Well, and it certainly has exploded in popularity. In 2020, there was about 3.6 billion active users on social media. They're projecting that to be at 4.41 billion by 2025.
That's like half the world population.
Literally like half the world population. And they're the most popular social media platforms currently is Facebook with 3 billion users, YouTube with 2.5 billion users, and Instagram with 1.4 billion users. So each and every year, more and more people are getting onto these platforms. But I think it also shows that there's new platforms that are emerging each and every year as well. My first social media platform was MySpace, and that is gone the way of the dinosaurs.
I wish I got to experience that.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't as fun as everyone's got rose-colored glasses on when they look back. Anyways, with MySpace, so that was when I first started. It was all about MySpace, and now we got TikTok, and I'm not even on TikTok, but everyone I know that's younger is on TikTok. So each year there's new platforms emerging, but there's also hundreds of millions of new users getting involved. And I think for businesses around the country and around the world, this has become an integral part of their marketing, of their branding strategy, and like you guys mentioned, attracting more talent and attracting people to their jobs and their office.
Because even a great example of that is actually Instagram. Because when it first started off, 10 years ago, it was just pictures and videos. It was just like entertainment for family use. And now I have a ton of friends who actually have their email and their contact information actually in their bio.
You can make a business page on Instagram.
100%. Yeah. So it's actually a great way now for businesses to kind of get a hold of you is through Instagram now.
Well, and you use Instagram for your music too, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I definitely do. So I actually use it probably the most out of all the other platforms. But yeah, it's a great way to kind of get your content out there, get it boosted, as well as kind of reach out to other musicians and other artists in the area.
Yeah, and I think when you look at kind of who's using what, now I think there might be a bit of a disconnect a little bit between what businesses are using and what consumers are using. For example, some of the stats I have here, they talk about how for Facebook, you have 71% of consumers are using it, where around 60% of businesses are. YouTube, 51% of consumers or candidates are using it, as opposed to 35% business. So there is a little bit of a difference there. Obviously, with this channel and everything that we're doing, we're trying to increase that 35% on YouTube to a little bit higher. But I think you really can narrow down and figure out, where are people going, what are people using, and how as a business can we figure out a way to tailor our business or our services to that platform.
Yeah. Totally. I think it's much harder as well for businesses to hop on the social media bandwagon, because not only are you trying to establish a presence, but you're trying to be savvy and intelligent in a way about getting the word out there about the business. So it's hard work, whereas a lot of consumers and, our personal pages, we just post a selfie. It's a lot much hard work.
Yeah.
Well, and you bring up a really good point with that too, because it's not necessarily. I think with companies, you have to take a look at what they're posting as well. 88% of companies are expecting to hire at least one social media person within the next 2 years, and it's extremely important, because if you look at what consumers and potential candidates in our case are saying, about 71% of these consumers or candidates want companies and businesses to either make awareness or increase awareness or take a stance on a number of sensitive issues that are going around the country. So there's a whole new element there of being able to not only display and communicate what your services are and what your what products you're making, but also being able to stay culturally relevant with the various issues that are going on. And as everyone knows, I mean, every 10 years it seems like there's a cultural shift, and I think that's very important, especially for businesses if they want to stay around long term.
Well, you know, I actually studied that in college. I forget what it was called, but it's just the importance of having a social presence, whether it is social media or like another social aspects. But for businesses to, you know, just kind of stay on top of what's going on and, you know, make a statement about maybe something important that's happening. And when businesses establish their presence and when they acknowledge what's going on in the real world, it attracts way more people and it proves success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you see Pride Month, everybody changes their logos to rainbows, and October is breast cancer awareness, so you see a lot of that going out
it's proactivity.
So, yeah, I agree. And it also, it's inclusivity too, because, this company is, you know, it supports a cause that I feel passionate about, and obviously there's exclusivity that happens as well because people don't agree on everything, but it is a tiny little sense of like, hey, we've got your back, no matter what it is that you've gone through, and that's something to be appreciated for sure.
And would you guys, for each of you, would you guys say personally, if you see a company that is promoting or bringing awareness to an issue or something that you either find important or maybe you don't find important, does that in any way or shape or form affect your decision whether you're going to, you know, get a service from that company, a product, or is it kind of, are you just indifferent to it altogether?
No, I think for me it does matter. It's actually quite a big deal. I think a great example of that is like, so I'm always on Twitter pretty often, and I follow a ton of companies from, you know, that are on Twitter. And a lot of times I'll see like some companies will have like these crazy opinions about things that I just don't agree with. And so because of that, I'll actually like not go there anymore. Like I won't, you know, get their food or go to the drive-thru or things like that. So I think it is a big deal. And I think that especially on Twitter, because it's such a, it's a lot younger demographic of social media, that I think companies have to be very, you know, particular about what they post on there specifically, because if people don't agree with that, they actually will lose a lot of client base for sure.
Yeah, especially in the cancel culture that we have now. You know, you find out a company is...
It's crazy.
Yeah, they're giving money to a political affiliation that you don't agree with, and they're canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff is so prevalent these days.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I think we kind of want to go through and talk about, you know, how we use social media in our business when looking for candidates. And I know there's a number of different platforms that we use. And I don't necessarily know if they're considered social media, but I'm thinking like your Indeeds and your ZipRecruiters. I mean, those might be more of, I don't know, what would you, like a database?
I would say so. I mean, it's a way to, I guess there's outreach and you're reaching out to people, right?
Representing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's less of correspondence between two people, but you are reaching out to people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so we're using these different software, whether it's Indeed, ZipRecruiter. I know we're trying to do things on Facebook and other social media platforms to attract people, but in doing so, do you guys think that companies today, their hiring process is really entwined with social media? You know, for example, if you guys are in recruiting, are you guys looking at people's, for example, social media profiles and looking at, you know, who is this guy is on Facebook or Instagram? Is that something you guys are doing, or what are your thoughts on that? Because I know a lot of companies out there are using social media during their hiring process to get a better feel of what the person is like.
Yeah. So as a recruiter, I personally do not really look up my candidates. You know, obviously we have the resume and, you know, there are other ways to, you know, kind of see what their background is in, but I personally don't look at their social media. However, the way that I got this job here was through LinkedIn. So, I mean, I think that it's really helpful in getting the person, but I personally don't try and find out things about people.
Did you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, or were you reached out to? Or how did that work with the LinkedIn?
I think I was just browsing around and I saw the opening and I spoke with our HR director, Martin, and we had correspondence and it was really easy and fast and great. And here I am.
So you're literally here because of social media. Wow, this is perfect.
Yeah, we've got a recruiter that works out there that was a friend of mine. We worked together years and years ago. I posted a thing on my social media that we were hiring here. He saw it, reached out, told me about the company, and he works here now too. So I do think, I mean, you're onto something there with the social media being such a force in this, but in the everyday like recruiting when we're looking for positions, I think it's great when we share stuff out there and we can share things on each other's pages, which was not a thing that was, you know, a couple years ago, but also, you know, getting onto somebody else's social media to me is just a little bit of like sacred ground. You're giving me your LinkedIn profile and that's great, but I don't really feel like I need to look at your Facebook. But I could be completely wrong on that too. Maybe I should be looking at more Facebooks, but no, I don't really look at any of that stuff when I'm. Do you think we should?
You know, to me, I think there's a line, you know, and I look at different platforms that I'm more professional on than the others, you know, LinkedIn and Facebook, you know, I'm going to be more professional, but, you know, a Snapchat or an Instagram, that's going to be more of just whatever.
Right.
At the same time, I also have all of those profiles private, so nobody can see them. So, you know.
Not for any particular reason, but, you know, to be safe.
But I think, you know, I have heard of companies, once they've hired somebody, that, you know, they want their social media to be relatively, I don't know, clean, neutral. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, kind of mellowed out in a sense, because in their view, that person's representing their brand. And I think there's a line there, you know, where if you're specifically talking about the company you work for, or are using the logo or sharing posts or something like that, I think, okay, maybe we need to make sure that we're acting more professional because
represent the brand.
Right.
I know for me, like my last job that I had, the HR really stressed the importance of like, they don't care what you post as long as it's not about the company we're working for. Yeah. And I actually had a coworker who did post about the company we were working at, and he got fired the next day.
Oh, wow.
And what he said wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even that crazy, but he just made a comment about, oh, this is a long day. I can't wait to go home. And they fired him from the shift.
They meant business.
Yeah.
They was not playing around.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I can kind of understand it. They maybe try to do one abroad. They can't just single out a person.
Yeah, they made the rule and
they just have to follow through with it. You know,
Right.
Well, we actually did a little poll with all of our internal recruiters on LinkedIn, and we asked them, you know, what form of social media is most helpful for you in your everyday job. 43% said LinkedIn, 38% said internet job boards like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, 14% said Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and then 5% said other. So I think right in line with what you're saying, you know, LinkedIn is huge. These internet job boards that we're continuing to use is huge. But the Facebook and Instagram, not so much.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually think it's kind of strange, not to sound judgmental, but like I would never, we get resumes sometimes or applications and it has their whole like click on this for this and this and this for all their different social media, and they're opening themselves up to that, which I mean, that's their choice to do so. We don't require it, but I just can't imagine being like, hi, I really want to work at MalaceHR. Here's my Facebook page.
I would not do that.
No, there's too many.
Unless it was like my professional, like it's like my portfolio Facebook.
Right.
But I do notice when we hire people in here, everybody starts like connecting with them on LinkedIn, which they should. You know, we're all a network and we use each other's networks for that stuff. But then you have to be like, oh, how many jobs has this person had in the last little while? Right? What were they posting about this last week? So yeah, I think you are kind of opening yourself up just by default because it's a professional website and you're working for a company in a professional setting. Yeah. I don't like that idea for any of the other social medias. Right. Like I'm not attached to MalaceHR and any, you know, it doesn't say like my name and then or work at MalaceHR.
Yeah, I don't have that either.
Just it's a separation of church and state.
Right.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go.
100%.
Well, and something I've seen and heard about is a candidate will apply for the job, whether it's online or Indeed, and then they will follow up on social media, which to me seems like that's a pretty smart strategy.
It's efficient.
You know, what are your guys' thoughts on that? What would be the best way, in your opinion, if you were to apply for a job? Are you following up with them in an email? Are you following up with them social media? I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think for me, I like more than one option. I think just doing one can be like, it can kind of ruin, you know, limit your scope. And so I think being able to actually send an email as well as, you know, even reach out to social media and also send a call if you can. Yeah. I think doing all of those, one, ensure that like you're interested in the job and you're actually, you know, you're hungry for the position, but it also just makes, you know, it just represents your brand and your image a lot better only because you reach out, you communicate, and you're not afraid to speak and actually have a conversation about the position.
Increases the likelihood of getting a response.
Yeah, it does.
Totally.
It does.
Well, I actually have a flip opinion on that.
Okay.
I think, just a me thing, but I think when you're doing that much, it's not just a level of desperation, but like a little level of drama in there. Like, if they're not going to answer my phone call, I'm going to post on their Facebook page.
There's definitely two different sides to that.
So, I mean, there's a professional way to reach out and
Right.
say, you know, like, hey, super interested, or thank you for the interview, but not like, I haven't heard back from you, all caps with like an angry meme face or
for
whatever.
sure.
So
For sure.
I don't know. I don't know what the right answer for that is, but that's kind of my viewpoint.
Yeah, no, I totally
Yeah.
get you. I think, 100%. I think it's funny too because like I found so far, like, I've only been here for like a month, so I'm pretty new to recruiting, but I found that the strongest candidates are people who actually have, you know, not excessively like, hey, Deslin, I'm waiting for you to reach back or whatever, but they have at least like, they'll respond like on Indeed, but they'll also send just one call or
Communicative.
something. Yeah.
Keep up, you know.
100%, yeah. Because if I'm waiting to hear back from you for like 4 days, and I know you're probably not going to be a strong candidate for the position, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think what companies can do, and how I kind of wanted to circle around with this was, you know, what companies can do to be more engaged with the people that are following them on social media. And I was in the top 5 basically. What's the word? Content that is most effective. Number 1 is short form videos. Number 2 is just images. Then live videos. Then memes is number 4. And then finally at number 5 is just a text based post. So there's a lot of different ways that you could try to interact. What are your guys' thoughts? What's the best ways for companies to engage with people on social media?
I think it's something. I just think that, you know, we talk about social media being something so immediate and that instant gratification thing. And I think that people want to see something that's short and sweet that also gets their attention and that it's cool to look at. So I think that like the short form video, they're seeing something happening in action,
Right.
but it's also, you know, short.
Yeah.
It's the funny that does it for me, you know, like it's the memes and
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
like that'll make me more like, oh, this company seems like they're pretty cool. They're hip.
They know what a meme is. I'm working for you.
Exactly. So I like that kind of content. I like the reels. Is that what you guys
Reels, yeah, Instagram Reels.
Isn't there a new thing called Be Real?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what that is.
I have
I'm
no
not even
idea.
trying to understand.
So I was at a baseball game and there's a young girl that's a daughter of some friends anyway, and she's like, you want to be on my Be Real? And I was like,
People say that to me too.
what? You're what? So sure, that's a thing now. So you're probably onto something with these short films.
Right.
because
Yes.
Now we have a new social media platform.
Right.
that's
So
doing
crazy.
this too.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's number 1. That short form video, you know, that's Reels, that's TikToks.
Short attention spans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And I agree too. I think humor really draws people in. Like I think it's why Twitter does so well for businesses, only because they're able to kind of send out funny little, you know, jokes and references to different pop culture things. And so I think that is a great example of
There's a lot of lightheartedness there.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Wendy's will start like roasting people. On
Wendy's
there.
is so funny on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so now all of a sudden Wendy's is like, you know, peeling back the onion of their personality.
Yeah. Netflix is funny too.
awesome.
They
Yeah.
say
They
some
are.
pretty funny things.
Yeah.
Yes. So I
100%.
like that. I love it when even like athletes and things like that will get on and like there was a thing and somebody fantasy football drafted DeAndre Swift and like you play for me now. So yeah.
Giving them like a warm up regiment and stuff. Yeah. But it's funny you bring up Wendy's. You know, I actually one of my closest friends from my childhood, his girlfriend works for GM as a part of their social media team, and they have an entire team. And basically, a situation that she had told me about was not Wendy's. I'm stuck on that. A 7-Eleven had come out with a brand new like Big Gulp or something, and they had tweeted out to GM, you know, do you think that Escalade is going to be able to carry this Big Gulp? Is that big enough cup holders? And then, you know, GM came and like replied with like, oh yeah, we actually have huge cup holders that do this and the other thing. And like, but behind both of those tweets, and I don't know on the 7-Eleven side, but I'm sure there was, I know at least on the GM side, there was a team of people like
Advertise this
strategizing.
the best with the response.
You know, exactly. So it can go good or bad, but you need to really kind of make sure you're not crossing the line on some of those like roasting stuff.
Totally.
You know?
I've seen that happen. Yeah, I've seen that.
Right.
We all have.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
So then other than, you know, engaging with companies or candidates like we are and looking for jobs, you know, I think a big benefit of social media and pretty much probably the number one benefit, quite frankly, is the ability to network, you know, and that kind of goes
it's
right back.
everything.
Yeah, it goes right back to what you're saying on LinkedIn where you're building up this these connections of people who without social media you probably either would have never actually met or completely lost contact with.
Yeah.
And networking is huge, you know. And,
Totally.
and
Andrew just did a short film about tips and tricks for networking. So definitely be sure to check that one out because it explains everything that you're talking about right now, how important it is.
Right. And there's so many times, and I think we've heard this before, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And
Absolutely.
and that can be the case so many times.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I've only been here for a month, but I've already gotten the amount of referrals from other people. So I get somebody hired for a position, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, my cousin's looking for work too," and I'm just like, "Oh, great to send them over."
Right.
Word of
really
mouth.
knowing who you know is actually very important.
Well, and it's actually funny because the whole networking thing, I'm so big on it. I love meeting new people. Like I love venturing out and all that. But so on any of my social media, I typically don't just accept a request of somebody I don't know. Not all the time. And so on LinkedIn, I was a little weary. So one of my friends, I had all these requests to connect, and I'm like, this is a little intimidating. I don't know any of these people. I have no mutual connections. Is it weird? Is it not? She's like, just accept them. It's a connection. It's a network, and you can talk about the job and share the job, and you can find new things.
Your doors will open from that. Yeah,
absolutely. So I was like, you know what? I'll do that.
Well, and spot on though, because every time you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, it opens. Their second connections or their first connections become your second. When it starts and everything starts opening up more.
Absolutely.
For you. And on the flip side of that though, a lot of my LinkedIn is just people trying to sell me stuff.
You get that.
They're doing their job, I guess.
So I always am like looking, they'll be like, "Hey, I've got this great job opportunity looking for somebody in business development. Are you interested?" I'm like, "Not really." I don't know. Look at my name.
Do you see
Company
where I work?
for.
No, I think it's networking is so easy on social media or with social media. Like I said, you can post a job and then it spreads to your network and so on and so forth. And I've hired multiple people off of, I put a post out and people will be like, "Oh, I know somebody looking for that job." And then they share it. So, I mean, it's a blessing in that regard.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now that person's network is a part of my network. I'm a big fan of when I hire somebody or when I connect with somebody at a company, I immediately get on and LinkedIn connect with them. I don't do that on Facebook or anything else. Hey, we're working together now. Do we just become best friends? Yep.
Yeah, and I feel like networking really is a win-win for our company here because even if somebody doesn't want the job directly, but they refer their cousin, we offer the referral bonuses.
Yes,
so even being able to have the benefit of well, I may not want this job, but my nephew does, so let me connect you with him.
And you can benefit from that
exactly,
too.
so I'll get a bonus from it. Yeah, so there's just so much networking provides so much for companies and for us specifically here, honestly.
You guys, obviously networking is a huge part of it, and we've discussed a lot of the different ways and uses that people and companies are using social media. What about the future? You hear about all this new technology coming out, whether it's the AR glasses, where you've got basically apps in front of your eyes at all times, and
That's scary.
that kind of stuff. And I know even for us, we're looking at implementing video job descriptions, which we've never done before. But rather than reading a piece of paper, having a recruiter or the hiring manager actually talk to you about what the position is. What are your guys' thoughts as far as the future of social media? Is it going to become bigger and more involved in our lives, or do you see us ultimately just rejecting a bit of it and getting back to where we used to be?
Honestly, I feel like as technology increases and progresses, I think social media will as well. I think we'll see a direct relationship between the two. I think that we'll see, because even that's a great idea with the video, the video job descriptions. I think we'll see more of things like that becoming more innovative, especially because, nowadays remote work is so, desired and people are a lot more at home now.
Yeah.
So being able to actually reach out, all across the world and, online, I think it's going to become a lot bigger, a lot smarter, and it's a lot more beneficial for both companies and candidates, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It will become more prevalent, but in a really good way, because with the virtual reality sort of thing and with our video job descriptions, it's an opportunity for people to actually see the face and hear the voice. Yeah. So it could be more of the as close to in person you can get without being in person, which I like everything to be in person. But, for people who want the remote or people who are across the world, it's the closest way to make it kind of like an in-person interaction.
And you're actually working with a candidate at one of my clients, and my client is like, I want to do a Zoom interview, and no need to waste everybody's time with coming in and taking time out of the day. Like, we jump on a Zoom interview, they get to know each other a little bit, and then she can kind of vet them that way. And if she wants to bring them on site, great. And if not, you can pretty much tell in a short period of time that whether it's going to be a good fit or not.
You can see their demeanor.
So I mean, even Zoom is another thing that we haven't even touched on yet, and how that's transformed.
Right.
How about I talk about Zoom?
Teams,
Right.
Well, and it's crazy to me because I remember going to Disney when I was a kid. You go to Epcot and they're like Tomorrow World, or I think it's the big golf ball thing.
I know what you're
You can
doing.
go in and it like spins you up. It shows you what the future is going to be like. And I distinctly remember being like 10 years old and seeing their version of Zoom, on that ride. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. It's going to be insane.
Here we are.
And here we are. We're living in the future currently, so welcome. But with as popular as Zoom is today, it begs the question: what does it look like in 25 years? And I think you hear about Mark Zuckerberg talking about all these VR metaverse stuff. Who knows if we're doing Zoom in 2022? Who knows if in
We should
2050?
start preparing now.
Right.
Just a virtual interview room with a green suit and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my God.
But for real, by 2050, we could be put on a VR glasses and talk to somebody, like you said, across the other side of the world and actually see them in front of you.
That is so crazy.
But there's a lot, and also on top of that, I think privacy in general, I think is going to continue to go to the wayside. Dwindle.
I know everything about you, all your business.
Right.
I'm still going to stay under wraps.
My stuff's on.
You're not going to find out anything about me.
Well, that's awesome. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot for today. So I think we'll wrap it up here. I really appreciate you guys, Caitlin, Desi.
Fun.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Joining, and Sarah, as always.
Pleasure.
Appreciate everybody listening. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, as well as our pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This has been the Malace Cast. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of MalaceHR. Don't forget to subscribe now to Malace TV, available on YouTube, and we'll see you on our next Malace Cast.
But I sing one more song before I go away.